you've done it with a lot of new pieces the last couple of years, and so like beyond Butch, and I mean this could be a point about Butch Thompson too, but like what have you noticed the last couple of years as far as the job that the assistant coaches do and sort of like the role that coaching plays in Auburn's success the last couple of seasons?
I mean, I think you really have to go to the strength point this year, which is, of course, the pitching and just how ridiculous it's been. And you go back to the start of the year, and, like, that wasn't by any means – I don't know that you were all that confident you were going to have what you needed on the mound. And obviously you've had it in droves. But, like, I go back to the fact that this was something that really started with a conversation about strike percentage, and that's a pretty simple metric, all things considered. It's about as far as my expertise goes in some of those metrics and analytics, admittedly. But you got to take a lot of that, especially the technological side and what they've got with, I think they have it's at least one pitching lab. I don't know why you would need more than two pitching labs now that I'm saying it. But, ever since Everett Teaford came in, there's just been such a huge investment in kind of the new school side of it. And, Butch was admittedly like, we need to be up to snuff on that, like when Teaford was hired. And I just think what you've been able to get from Teaford in terms of the new school and the fact that, I think it's really easy for a lot of people to forget because I think his title's technically Director of Player Development, but you've got 3 former assistant coaches of the year on this staff between Butch, Carl Nunemaker, and then Scott Foxhall, who was the pitching coach at State when they won it all in 21. And I think that blend, the fact that you have those two in Teaford and Foxhall overseeing that pitching staff, you've had the time now. You're in year 3 at Teaford, and I think it's just gone a long way. That's really when I think about the job of these coaches. I think about that. I think too about the way that like the lineup has kind of figured it out down the stretch, because I think there's been some adjustment as far as the approach, but as much as you can marry the two, I think there's been some adjustment to the approach, but also like we're not going to back off what we think we're good at. They've been able to get that pop and that power still, even though the approach has kind of changed. And I don't know. I mean, I think you've gotten a lot out of this staff this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned just how great the pitching staff has been, and that was, again, a thing that we weren't sure about. You can go back to our preview episode at the start of the season. It was like, man, these dudes will probably be able to hit top to bottom, but, like, can the pitching come through? And obviously we know that answer. Henry, like, when we've gone through this last month and a half, just kind of talking back and forth about this Auburn baseball team, I think your line was at one point, it was like, the postseason's like, you either got it or you don't. Like, are you a dog or are you not? Auburn's got multiple dogs that they're going to put out on the hill, and when you think about the potential, not to just get through this weekend, but maybe make a run to Omaha when it's all said and done, knowing what I've kind of been able to gather about a lot of these teams in this tournament and all these teams in the SEC, Auburn's got a luxury that they're going to be able to play several games in a weekend where you need to be really, really strong on the mound, where they feel like their starter can go out there and give them a whole lot, and that's not always a guarantee in college baseball.
You have essentially 4 starters, and Jackson Sanders has been coming out of the pen, but in a pinch, could throw him out there. I want to circle back real quick. You mentioned the approach adjustments. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a better example of this than Bub Terrell